And California Democratic Congressman Mike Levin joins me now. Congressman, it's good to have you with us. What changes would this make in your district in terms of either the availability of a field office or the requirements that Social Security recipients are now going to have to make to get themselves identified or in the system?
Well, Major, this makes no sense on multiple levels. On the one hand, you're telling seniors that they can no longer use phone verification. So that would mean that a lot of people who aren't as tech savvy would have to go into the field offices in order to get verified. But then you're closing a lot of those field offices. And we don't know exactly how many field offices will be closing, but we do know, for example, here in Carlsbad, where I am in my district, there's an office set to close in June. It's a administrative office. There are 8 field offices in our region here in San Diego, and we don't know how many will close. But if you have between 7,000 and 30,000 of the Social Security Administration employees set to be fired, then 50 to 60% of those employees work in those 1,200 field offices. So it really doesn't make any sense any way you cut it. And at the end of the day, voters do not want Elon Musk destroying Social Security. I call Doge destruction of government by Elon.
So it has been reported, Congressman, that if you're a Republican and you call Doge about things that might happen in your district or state, you'll get a response. If you're a Democrat, you don't. Has that been your experience?
Well, you'd have to ask my Republican friends. I just saw Mike Lawler from New York posted one of the offices in his district was set to shut down. We'll see if he gets a response. I can tell you that it's been really tough for folks like me when we contact the administration, even the legislative affairs liaison, we don't get straight answers. And that's not just Social Security Administration, it's across the board. But I do think a lot of these cuts, there have been, buyer's remorse in the sense that my Republican colleagues have recognized that this Doge activity is a far cry from actual efficiency. It is destruction from within. And a lot of them are quietly fed up. But they can only say so much, Major, because remember that Elon Musk is the single largest donor to Republicans. And he's basically said to President Trump, if anybody gets sideways with the Trump administration, Elon will fund a primary. So I think they're treading carefully because of that.
Congressman, it was said by the Senate Minority Leader, Democrat Chuck Schumer out of New York, that he had to, along with other Senate Democrats, go along with the continuing resolution, avoid a government shutdown, because if that had not happened, Elon Musk would have been vastly more empowered to do the kind of things you are now drawing attention to with alarm. Do you buy that argument?
I don't, Major, and I understand where Leader Schumer was coming from. In my view, major parts of the government are already shutting down, even without the formal shutdown process having commenced. I'm also concerned that as a result of the continuing resolution, that we have actively, and I say we, those who voted for it, I did not, retroactively validated a lot of what Doge has been doing and will continue to be doing over the next 6 months. But look, I think that Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries had a good conversation over the weekend, and based on public reports, it was made clear to Leader Schumer we have a couple more opportunities as congressional Democrats with real leverage. One is the debt ceiling, and another is the reconciliation bill. And we ought to use that leverage. As Speaker Pelosi said, you shouldn't give up something for nothing. And I hope that that message was heard loud and clear.
It's across the Capitol, and you don't have a vote, but do you think Leader Schumer should stay the Senate Democratic leader?
Well, as your guest just said in your last segment, ultimately it's up to the senators to decide that. We don't like when the Senate noses into the business of the House and vice versa. But I can tell you that there was profound disappointment across the House Democratic caucus, and it surely was not left versus right or anything like that. It was just those of us that think that now is the time to fight versus those that were willing to go along. And these are not normal times. These are not normal circumstances. And I believe that a fight is needed in order to stand up for our values, stand up for the Constitution itself. And I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I care very deeply that Congress has the power of the purse that's being completely steamrolled by Elon Musk and with the willing participation of congressional Republicans.
Very quickly, Congressman, 30% of the federal workforce is made up of veterans. There's an effort to bring them into the federal workforce. How is that affecting your district, meaning the cutbacks in the size of that federal workforce?
It's such a shame, Major, and I appreciate you bringing it up. You know, here in San Diego, we have a huge veteran population. My experience, having been on the Veterans Affairs Committee for a number of years, the federal government is a great way for our active duty military to want to continue their service in their post-military career. And we've got so many great veterans who are serving, whether it's the VA or the Department of Defense here locally or across the federal government. So for all of these cuts that you see, you've got great veterans across the federal government who are being fired. And in many cases, these are veterans who are just promoted. You know, you can be a probationary employee if you were just made a supervisor or a manager. And that happened to a lot of our great veterans. I am trying to get legislation with my colleagues to hire back those veterans because we owe them better than this. This was really a ready, fire, aim by Elon Musk.